A fierce response aimed at Israel and its ally, the United States. Iran is turning the Middle East battlefield hotter than ever with this move. Is this a calculated strategy or a step toward worsening the conflict? What exactly is unfolding in this region, and is there any hope for peace in the near future? Join us as we unpack the full picture of Iran's stunning counteroffensive. The Middle East battlefield is shrouded in a haze of smoke and flame, pierced by the relentless roar of fighter jets, the thunder of bombs, and the ceaseless chatter of machine gun fire raining down on hidden bunkers. Just hours ago, these were resilient neighborhoods, fortified with sturdy bunkers. Now they're reduced to heaps of shattered concrete. Casualties are mounting, with estimates reaching into the hundreds, yet this war is only just beginning. Tensions have skyrocketed to unprecedented heights. Ballistic missiles streak through the air one after another, their fiery bursts lighting up the night sky like a grim fireworks display. No one knows what's unfolding. The world holds its breath, waiting in suspense. Reeling from Israel's strikes on its military bases and nuclear facilities, Iran seemed to expose its vulnerabilities to its adversary. A string of nuclear research sites lies in ruins, military routes are cratered by massive bomb blasts, and high-ranking officials have been killed, throwing the leadership into chaos. Many expected a call for peace or some sort of truce agreement to emerge. But just hours later, the world was stunned by Iran's ferocious counterstrike. No talk of ceasefire or compromise came from the Islamic Republic. Instead, Iran hit back hard, unleashing a barrage of missiles in response to Israel's assault. The conflict is spiraling, with both sides hammering each other relentlessly, setting the Middle Eastern sky ablaze. Sleep is impossible now, not even the most powerful can rest. They're grappling with the daunting task of navigating the intricate geopolitical chessboard of this volatile region. Let's dive into the story of Iran's nuclear program. It all kicked off in 1967 under Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, when Iran, with a helping hand from the US, built its first research reactor in Tehran as part of an ambitious civilian nuclear project. After the 1979 revolution, Iran's new leadership initially saw the program as a lavish relic of the old regime and put it on ice. But by the end of the grueling Iran-Iraq War, 1980 to 1988, with the Bushehr plant battered by airstrikes and Iraq deploying chemical weapons on the battlefield, Tehran's perspective shifted. The nuclear program was no longer just a luxury. It became a vital tool for deterrence. Over the decades, Iran's leaders have transformed the program into a source of national pride, a symbol of the country's leadership in the Islamic world, a testament to its scientific ambition, and a strategic insurance policy in a region brimming with threats. After years of relentless pursuit, the nuclear program isn't just a policy, it's woven into the very ideology of Iran's ruling elite. Decades of investment and commitment have made the program nearly untouchable, no matter who holds power in Tehran. For Israel, this is a looming danger, a potential threat so severe it could, if successful, wipe their nation off the map. This explains why Israel's strikes on Iran consistently target its nuclear facilities. Emerging from decades of covert struggles, Iran and Israel are now locked in open warfare, trading fire in a way that's impossible to ignore. This isn't some random flare-up, it's the inevitable climax of a long-simmering clash of ideologies, stretching from the early days of these two nations to the present moment. Rising from the wreckage of battered battlefields as military bases lay paralyzed in the dead of night, the skies erupted with a staggering sight: 120 ballistic missiles, 200 cutting-edge weapons, and 70 Iranian drones streaking toward Israel's major cities. It's a spectacle that would leave any onlooker in disbelief. This lightning-fast, head-on retaliation was as much a statement as it was an assault, a bold declaration to Iran's enemies that this is a war without mercy. Iran will not back down. This move from Iran was undeniably daring, especially coming just minutes after they were engulfed in the chaos of a massive surprise offensive from Israel. Thousands of casualties piled up, with dozens of military and nuclear facilities reduced to rubble. Iran's leaders, more than anyone, know the strength of Israel's renowned missile defense system, capable of obliterating incoming threats mid-air before they can breach the border. The challenge was even steeper, with Iran targeting heavily fortified major cities, where Israel's defenses are ironclad. Yet, Iran didn't act blindly. Their calculated strategy, unleashing a relentless, concentrated barrage of firepower, overwhelmed Israel's defenses, shaking their confidence. Reports of damage have already surfaced, forcing Israel into high alert. The tide is shifting, and the question looms: could this spark a new chapter in the Middle East's volatile landscape? Looking at the historical and social context, it's clear that the clash between Iran and Israel is the inevitable outcome of the 21st century's greatest geopolitical crisis, a tangled web of conflict rooted in deep-seated ideological divides and irreconcilable values that stretch back to their origins. Words alone can't capture the full weight of this history. Centuries of covert power plays, border skirmishes, and tit-for-tat sanctions have fueled the fire. In recent years, Iran's saber-rattling over its nuclear capabilities has only heightened the stakes. For Israel, sitting idly behind defensive walls isn't an option. They know Iran's threats are real and a nuclear strike could erase them in an instant. This inescapable reality drives the current war. If neither side seizes the upper hand, one risks vanishing from the regional map entirely. In the dead of night, air raid sirens pierce the silence, louder and more ferocious than ever before, echoing through major cities packed with dense populations and thriving businesses. Unlike past alarms, these wail with an intensity that shakes the soul. Innocent civilians, jolted from sleep, huddle in bunkers, their anxious eyes darting upward, holding their breath as they brace for what's coming next. Can our advanced defense systems hold back this storm of missiles pouring down? Will my home still be standing when the dust settles tomorrow? Their fears are justified. Iran has approached this battle with meticulous precision, orchestrating a military campaign calculated down to the finest detail. Missiles and drones launch in synchronized waves, pounding relentlessly. For the first time, Iran has openly unleashed its vast ballistic missile arsenal on Israeli soil at an unprecedented scale, overwhelming Israel's defense systems, which struggle to intercept every incoming threat. Defense experts point out that this assault reveals Iran's unwavering resolve. They've deployed a massive array of ballistic missiles and cutting-edge weaponry, with each wave of attacks carefully calibrated to strike precise targets. In the skies above, missiles and firepower rain down in controlled barrages, designed to chip away at Israel's protective shield. At exactly 10:40 p.m. local time, the night shattered. Air raid sirens blared across Israel's major cities, Tel Aviv, Haifa, Ramat Gan, and Ashdod, their piercing wails carrying the terror of ordinary citizens. The sky lit up with streaks of light converging on a single point, a relentless barrage that Israel's advanced defense systems, Iron Dome, David's Sling, and Arrow 3, faltered under the strain. The onslaught was overwhelming. A few missiles slipped through the defenses, striking a residential area. The situation was spiraling into chaos. Every move was meticulously planned to inflict maximum damage. Before the missiles lit up the sky, Iran unleashed a swarm of kamikaze drones. These weren't just decoys meant to confuse, they were precision-engineered to target Israel's radar stations and missile defense launchers. Acting like a surgical strike force, they hit the eyes and ears of Israel's defense network. It was a brilliant tactic, temporarily crippling Israel's vaunted systems, including the famed Iron Dome. Known for its prowess against short-range missiles, even the Iron Dome buckled under the rapid, concentrated assault, pushing Israel's defenses to their absolute limits. Over 190 incoming targets, streaking in from multiple directions, struck simultaneously. Israel's interception units were pushed to the brink, radars scrambled, and the entire system teetered on the edge of collapse. It's chilling to even imagine what could happen if Israel's defenses were fully breached. Thankfully, Israel's defense systems proved their mettle, managing to neutralize most threats before they could hit their intended marks. Only a handful of missiles slipped through, but that's alarming enough. For a state-of-the-art defense network like Israel's to show even the slightest vulnerability is a serious concern, leading to significant losses in both lives and property. At Ramat David Air Base, one of Israel's most critical military hubs, 3 missiles struck inside the compound. Hangars collapsed and supply lines were severely damaged. The fallout isn't just immediate, it's a crippling blow that will disrupt air operations for the foreseeable future. This marks one of the most direct and devastating attacks on an Israeli military facility in years. In Tel Aviv, the situation was just as dire. 2 missiles pierced the defense grid, crashing into a residential neighborhood. Buildings cracked and partially crumbled. Police, rescue teams, and volunteers worked through the night, pulling survivors from the rubble. Panic and disbelief didn't just grip the targeted streets, they swept across the nation, shaking the very foundation of faith and safety. In the port city of Haifa, a missile slammed into the harbor, igniting a massive fireball as it obliterated a fuel storage tank. Thick black smoke billowed into the sky, swallowing the horizon in a suffocating haze. It's unmistakable, Iran's attack was anything but random. Each missile launched had a precise purpose to dismantle Israel's logistics network and cripple its rapid response capabilities. Iran carefully timed the assault, leveraging intelligence data and seamless coordination to ensure every strike hit with devastating impact. Had every missile reached its target, the toll on Israel would be beyond measure. Guided by cutting-edge navigation systems, these missiles tore toward their targets at blistering speeds with unnerving accuracy. This precision is what makes the strike not just notable, but a stark warning of Iran's growing might. This onslaught sent a clear message to Israel, its adversaries, and the world. Iran's weaponry is on par with Israel's, and even the US, a military titan, has reason to take notice. The attack showcased Iran's arsenal of advanced, far deadlier missiles than before. Missiles like the Zulfiqar, Desfilan, and Fatah 110 aren't just fast, they're eerily smart, capable of altering their flight paths in the final moments, leaving Israel's interception systems like Iron Dome and Arrow 3 struggling to keep up. This proves Iran has quietly upgraded its arsenal, bolstering its forces and honing combat capabilities with one aim: to breach Israel's formidable defenses. When the moment arrived, they unleashed a sophisticated, meticulously crafted strategy. Iran now knows exactly how to strike its adversary. Gone are the days of tentative border skirmishes. They've unleashed the full force of their meticulously developed military technology, zeroing in on specific targets to hit Israel's government and its ally, the United States, where it hurts most. As another wave of missiles tore through the night sky, Israel found itself in uncharted territory. Missiles, drones, and a relentless storm of weaponry converged almost simultaneously. Israel's air defenses, stretched beyond capacity, lacked the time and resources to intercept everything. They faced gut-wrenching choices: which threats to neutralize immediately and which to let slip through. That was the strategy: force Israel to choose. Compel them to pour their efforts into shielding densely populated areas or critical assets, leaving other targets vulnerable. This wasn't just an attack on infrastructure, it was a calculated strike on a nation's ability to respond. For the first time, Israel's defense units operated in a true saturation environment. Every decision had to be made at lightning speed, driven by real-time data: which systems to engage, which targets to prioritize, and what could be risked. No matter how advanced the technology, everything has its limits. This event marks the most severe escalation between Iran and Israel in decades. It's not merely an attack, it's a bold declaration. Iran is no longer operating through regional proxies, they're now leading the charge in an open head-on confrontation. Military experts have noted that Iran's latest attack displayed a rare level of coordination, something seldom seen before. This wasn't a scattering of artillery fire aimed at remote border towns. This time, Iran set its sights on Israel's major cities, hubs of population, and critical infrastructure, directly challenging the heart of Israel's sophisticated missile defense systems. Iran knew exactly what it was doing. They launched the assault with precise timing, calculated tactics, and just the right volume to expose vulnerabilities. The results speak for themselves. Even the world's most advanced defense shields can be breached with enough cunning and relentless pressure. As missiles rained down and Israel's defenses strained to hold the line, the cost extended far beyond the battlefield. It seeped into the fabric of everyday life. This wasn't just a military operation, it was a humanitarian tragedy. As of now, at least 11 people have lost their lives, and over 150 are injured, many in critical condition. Hospitals in Tel Aviv and Haifa are in full emergency mode, overwhelmed by a surge of trauma cases in mere hours. Public transportation, including the subway, has ground to a halt for safety reasons. Cities once buzzing with life now sit eerily quiet, gripped by tension and unease. What's unfolding isn't just a conflict, it's a nightmare rippling through daily existence. Though the attack was brief, it was enough to shake an entire modern nation to its core. Roads are sealed off, ambulances and rescue teams race through the night without pause. Citizens have been ordered to stay indoors, avoiding the streets unless absolutely necessary. The next morning, schools and offices shuttered to prioritize safety. For many, this is no longer distant news from a far-off front line. It's a visceral, immediate reality. War isn't just the domain of soldiers or politicians anymore. It's crept into homes, neighborhoods, and hospitals, upending the once peaceful rhythm of everyday life. As Israel reels from this dire crisis, its leaders face a gut-wrenching decision: how to respond and when. After Iran's ferocious assault, many citizens expected a swift and fierce counterstrike from Tel Aviv. Yet, defying those expectations, Israel held back, opting instead for urgent consultations with Washington. Within Israel, however, the pressure is mounting. Opposition parties and military analysts have begun criticizing Prime Minister Netanyahu's recent moves, particularly airstrikes in Syria and near Iran's borders, arguing they may have provoked Iran's devastating retaliation. The tension has spilled onto the streets. Protests are erupting as citizens demand clarity, not just on why this happened, but on how they'll be protected in the days ahead. Amid the heated political debates within Israel, security forces remain on high alert. Fighter jets patrol the skies relentlessly, while ground-based defense systems stand ready for a potential second wave of attacks from Iran. Every move is calculated, every step cautious, as Israel quietly plots its next course. Could a larger war be looming? The wider region is growing restless. Turkey and Qatar are urgently calling for emergency talks to de-escalate the situation. Meanwhile, Russia and China are pushing for a United Nations Security Council meeting to address the crisis. Iran's allies aren't standing still either. In Lebanon, Hezbollah, backed by Iran, has raised its alert level to the maximum, vowing to act if Israel retaliates. Pro-Iranian militias in Syria, Iraq, and Yemen are also mobilizing, reinforcing their positions as if bracing for a broader conflict just over the horizon. Intelligence reports indicate Tehran is preparing more missile launches targeting American bases in the Middle East, fueling fears that the conflict could spiral further. Washington has sprung into action, pledging full support for Israel while discussing the deployment of additional air defense systems to the eastern Mediterranean. U.S. warships in the region are now on high combat alert. The atmosphere is thick with tension, as if one more spark could set everything ablaze. For the U.S., this isn't just about Israel, it's a chance to send a clear message to Iran and its backers: keep escalating, and there will be no safe harbor. The war has unleashed a cascade of consequences, not only destabilizing the region, but also sending shockwaves through the global economy, prompting other nations to step in and call for intervention. Diplomatic efforts are now in overdrive, with negotiations underway and pressure mounting on all sides to find a resolution. Mass protests have erupted across the United States and Europe, with crowds chanting, "Stop U.S. interference in the Middle East," and "Spend on jobs and education, not conflict." The chaos of the conflict has the world's eyes glued to the actions of the key players. The United States' involvement is becoming increasingly pronounced, raising the question: will a ceasefire agreement emerge, or will tensions between the two nations and the entire region continue to escalate? Thousands of flights have been rerouted, and Iran's skies now hang under an eerie calm, like the quiet before a storm. Is there a path for the world to navigate this crisis? What will Israel's next moves be, and can Iran's nuclear capabilities recover? The specter of Middle East instability looms more urgently than ever. Stay tuned for the latest updates on the conflict in our next report.